folks. This episode may contain adult themes and swear words, mainly because I can't be asked to edit them out anymore. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby Podcast. Ollie and I hope you are all well and have recovered from the first weekend of the Gallagher Premiership. And what an interesting weekend it was, starting Friday night with Saracens away at Ashton Gate against Bristol. Ollie is here as ever, so we are going to talk about the Gallagher Premiership. But more importantly, we are going to talk about the news and the fact that Eddie Jones has today, within the last hour, announced his England team, and some really interesting things that have taken place. Ollie, are you there, my good man?
I am indeed, mate. Hello. How are you?
I'm very well. I am very well. And I am also a little bit surprised. I'm not going to lie. Have you seen the England team that Mr. Eddie Jones has named today?
Yeah, I have, mate. Well,
You have? Oh, okay. So that's the
Why
game.
are you trying to slip me out?
No. I was just going to say, can you guess the 3 big names that have been dropped? But if you've seen it, there's no point.
Well, in all honesty, yeah, I've been on the go. So I've only just sort of scanned through it. But yeah, had a quick look. It looked fairly decent, in all honesty. Quite a good balance of some of the old hat experienced guys, and obviously some new and young talent in there as well, isn't it? So I think it looked like a fairly good 45 man, isn't it? 45 man squad.
Yeah.
Obviously a few of them will be lost when it comes to final squad selection, isn't it? But yeah, so big 3 names.
So yes, the big 3 names that have been left out. Obviously,
Billy,
Big Billy and his brother Mako Vunipola, and George Ford.
George Ford's in there, isn't he?
No, George Ford's been left out.
Oh, I thought he was in there, mate. I must have misread that.
You must have misread that, mate, unless the BBC are trying to pull a fast one and make me look like an absolute douchebag. But no,
Okay.
I'm looking at what the BBC are reporting, mate, and obviously they are the go-to team. And the headline is, Lewis Liner called up for England, Billy and Mako Vunipola plus George Ford left out.
Okay.
I'm surprised. After George Ford's performance on the weekend for England, I am surprised, I'm not going to lie. But equally, it looks like Eddie is... there doesn't seem to be another fly half.
So who is Marcus Smith, obviously?
So Marcus Smith's in, obviously.
Yeah.
Right, shall I just read them out?
Yeah, go for it.
So forwards, Jamie Balmain from Newcastle, Callum Chick, Newcastle, Luke Cowan-Dickie, Exeter, Tom Curry, Sale, Trevor Davison, Newcastle, Alex Don Branch, Charlie Ewells, Ellis Gaines, Joe Hayes, Johnny Hill, Ted Hill, Maro Itoje, Jack Kenningham, Courtney Laws, Lewis Ludlam, Lewis Ludlow, Joe Marler, George Martin, Ben Urbano, Gabriel Ogre, Sam Riley, Harlequins. I'm not even sure who that is. Bevan Rod, Sale, Sam Simmons, woohoo, Kyle Sinclair, Will Stewart, and Sam Underhill. The backs consist of Mark Atkinson. Surprised about that one, but okay. Owen Farrell, George Furbank. I'm wondering if Eddie is going to be playing George Furbank at fly half, or consider him as a fly half. Ollie Lawrence, Lewis Liner, Max Malins, Joe Merchant, Johnny May, Rafi Quirk, Adam Radwan, Harry Randall, Dan Robson, Henry Slade, Ollie Slytone, Marcus Smith, Freddie Stewart, Manu Tuolangi, Anthony Watson, and Ben Youngs. Wow. All right. So out of all those people, who are you quite surprised with? I'm still surprised. I'm surprised that Tuolangi's there. I'm surprised Ben Youngs is there. I am surprised that... I'm still surprised George Ford's not there. But yeah, those 2 as well, Manu Tuolangi and Ben Youngs. I just wonder, what are we going to gain from them 2, do you think? Oh, Johnny May I'm surprised about as well. I'm Oh, sorry, mate. You crack on now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Carry on, mate.
Um,
Hello, Ollie.
Hi.
You back? What's going on?
How's it going? Lost you. Dropped out for a minute there, mate. Yeah, I'm very surprised with George Ford, and I do want. I mean, this is an initial 45 squad camp, isn't it? So
Yeah.
there still can be people brought in, and there obviously will be people cut for the final squad, won't there? So
yeah. It does read this mini camp forms part of England's preparation for the November test.
Yeah.
So why would he not be there?
I don't know, mate. I don't know. And out of the names I mean, Farrell's still in there, isn't he? So you still regard him as a 10, isn't it?
Furbank's been playing 10 for Northampton, although obviously he played 15.
He has, yeah. So yeah, interesting, mate. I mean, I can understand the likes of Billy still being omitted, but I still would like to think he's still got a future with England. Just needs to sort of regain. I thought he played very well. Best game I've seen him play for quite a while at the weekend. But just needs to get some game time, isn't it? And sort of reproving his form again. Mako is probably more of a surprise because personally, I would rate him as still one of the best props in the world. Who else? Johnny May.
I suppose Johnny May's probably got money in the bank with Eddie, isn't he?
He has, yeah. But yeah, when you look at sort of,
well, you look at Radman's display on the weekend and Lewis Liner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, those guys have obviously Johnny May's got, like you say, he's got money in the bank and experience over those, hasn't he? But yeah, just looking at the sort of pool of talent for wingers in the league, it's just loads, isn't there? So tough call, whatever. I think Ollie Slightholme's in there, isn't he? Which is good to see as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, who else? Nice to see Max Mallon's there, but
Manu Tuolangi and Ben Youngs.
No, I don't necessarily disagree with that. He's got two. He's got Harry Randall and Rafi Quirk, who is obviously a hugely impressive young talent, isn't he? He's slightly surprised maybe that your Leicester lad Van Porflett's not involved as well, because he's. I would say him and Quirk at the moment are probably hands up as far as up and coming youngsters in that position.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly what I would have thought. I would have thought you would have gone. You know, we've got to be realistic. We're looking at a 4-year cycle, not a 4-year cycle to the World Cup, but you know what I mean? We're starting to build to the World Cup. And I would have thought, is Ben Youngs, is Tuolangi, you know, and don't get me wrong, I love Joe Marler, but with Joe Marler, why? Who's the other loose head? Oh, Barno's there, I suppose. He's loose head, isn't he? Is Bevan Rod a loose head? Sinks is there. Bevan Rod's a tight head, isn't he?
I think he's tight head, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
But, I personally, Manu Tuolangi, I think he's just one of those. You almost regard him, and it always has been the case, I think, with all selectors and every team that he's been involved with. He's almost a different selection criteria of his own, because I think if he's fit, almost it's a case of if he's fit, he's in, because he just brings that sort of
crash ball dynamism,
point of difference, isn't it, that no one else really can. And he's just such a, for England in particular, he's more than anyone almost, he's such a big game player, isn't he? If you look at the couple of victories we've had against, for example, the All Blacks over the last few years, you know, he's been one of the lead standout performers in those games, hasn't he? So do you agree?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So
I was lost in your voice, mate. I was listening to what you're saying. I love it.
Oh, it's beautiful. But yeah, no, I don't disagree with him being involved, as long as you've got a good mix. But also, I think I agree, like you're looking ahead for the next World Cup, but we're actually at a stage where there's quite a few youngsters putting their hands up and starting to be involved. But you do sometimes need a bit of a mix. It's the same with like club rugby, isn't it? You can't just chuck and more so at international level, you can't just put all of your youngsters out on the field, because at the end of the day, because they lack that international experience, they're just going to get shown up a bit, aren't they? Especially when you come back against the big guns. So I think it's good to have like that. I think, if you're bringing in Marcus Smith as your, sort of targeting him as your number 110, it's great to have George Ford there as well, because he's the guy, he's a very similar type of player, but also just a fantastic mind of the game, isn't it? And years and years and bags of experience to bring Marcus Smith on even further and take him to that next level, help take him to that next level, isn't it? So I think it's good to have a mix so that, Ben Young's there. But yeah, age-wise and everything, is Ben Young's going to be there for the next World Cup? There's probably a question mark on that, isn't it? Like you say.
Yeah, and absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying in that respect. But I've just also realised that Sam Riley is. I thought I knew him. He's a substitute hooker for Harlequins. So there is no. What's the hooker called?
Yeah, Jamie George, I think, was a surprise
George
as well, wasn't it?
Jamie George is gone.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether, because you look at the two Vunipolas and Jamie George, for example. Yeah, so I still think they're probably almost certainly still in Eddie's mind and still have a future with England, but it's a case of those guys need to sort of regain their form and prove themselves at the top level again, isn't it? Because let's be realistic, they haven't played, other than a very small handful of games. Yeah. They haven't played top flight rugby for 2 years, is it now? Yeah. 18 months, 2 years. So
and I guess also as well, mate, if you think back to before the 2019 World Cup, it was about this time that Jones kind of phased out the old guard, wasn't it? Like Dylan Hartley went, Rob Shaw went, Haskell, Mike Brown, Danny Kerr. They all kind of.
Yeah, you're right. Was it 2017 around that time, sort of 2 years before the World Cup, wasn't it?
A case of he's looking at revamping, obviously, for the World Cup. I get where you're coming from. I totally get that. But like you said, I thought Billy Vunipola had quite a good game on Friday night. I mean, Elliot Daly's obviously not in there as well, but we all know he didn't necessarily have the greatest line tour, but he's actually out after having a stress fracture operation. So, he's not going to feature in the autumn test anyway. I tell you one thing that this announcement does do, mate, and like I said, I appreciate this squad will be reduced. It's going to make our fantasy rugby even more bloody tough.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite a few of my boys in there are going to be gone.
And looking at, you look at the sort of number of players named there from each squad. There's quite a number of clubs. The one that stood out for me actually is your Leicester Tigers. Well, that's in comparison to last year. They're potentially hugely affected by the internationals, aren't they? So,
I mean, I guess that gives a chance. If Ben Youngs obviously does go, then Van Poorfleet's going to be, cementing himself as the number one Leicester scrum half, I guess. And I guess the benefits obviously then will be the fact that Wigglesworth is there as a player coach kind of scenario.
Yeah, and obviously Fordy not, because I actually thought Fordy was named in the squad, but if he doesn't get named and involved, then that's a huge plus for Tigers.
Yeah,
which we said last week, wasn't it? But
yeah, no, I totally.
And a bit unfortunate for
Freddie Burns.
Potentially for Freddie Burns as well, yeah. But
yeah. Oh, mate, good old Eddie. He always likes to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's a good lad. Anyway, we spent about 15 minutes talking about Eddie. Let's move on. Other news. There is going to be, hang on a second, Sarah Cox is to become the first woman to referee a Premiership game. Which game is she taking hold of? By the scruff of the neck. Doesn't actually say which one she's going to be refereeing, I don't think. but she is going to be refereeing one. I thought they were going to tell us which one, but it's not telling us. Dwayne,
good, mate.
Dwayne Van Meulen has signed for Leicester, not Leicester, Leinster. Ulster.
You're right.
Yeah. I've been drinking. It's fine. Midday drinking. So I mean, I take, you know, me and you like to disagree on a fair few things. I thought this was a quality move. You did agree that it was a good move, but you just wonder how much he's got left in the tank, didn't you? And he's had quite a few injuries and stuff, and he is 35.
Yeah, no, it's a good signing every day of the week, isn't it? For any club at the end of the day. But no, I think that the point I was making is, yeah, at the age he is, obviously looking at him as an individual and the quality player that he is, I just made the point. It's not as good a signing as it would have been
5 years ago.
5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah.
I
know it's just stating the obvious, really, isn't it? But yeah, fantastic signing, and that potentially I would have thought marks an end to his Springbok career as well, isn't it? But although he obviously still can play for them, but I think at his age and coming over here, that could mark the end of it. But
yeah. There's definitely the possibility of that, I would say. Okay, so what's that rugby thing? Oh, the Champions. Jesus Christ! What's that Champions Cup thing again? Australia.
You talking about the Quad Nations or
the Rugby Championship? So another unfortunate loss for Argentina.
Should be Quad Nations.
The what?
It should be something like Quad Nations. We've been over this, haven't we?
Yeah,
silly names. Yeah, okay.
New Zealand put Argentina to the sword again, 36-13. But a really interesting game again. Australia beat South Africa. But again, they didn't just beat them. They beat them. 4 tries to 1, 30-17. Faf de Klerk, he got a yellow card. He was a bit of a prat, to be fair. Is the Springboks' reign kind of over? I mean, I saw an interesting comment by Sean Fitzpatrick, the former, obviously legendary New Zealand hooker, saying that South Africa haven't developed since winning the 2019 Cup. Do you think that's a fair statement to make?
Yeah,
I agree with him.
I think it's probably spot on, but they've hardly played any rugby since then, have they? So
no, but
the rugby they have played, because they went so long. Really, it was the Lions was the first real test they came up against, and they did exactly. There was no real change in the squad, no real change in the way they played. They just sort of returned to default, didn't they? And with extra emphasis on it, sort of thing. But, so I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but. Yeah, I don't know really, mate. It's I think there's probably a lot. I would almost say they had probably more time and more preparation for the Lions series.
Yeah,
which we saw. We saw that, didn't we? From the on and off the field tricks that were played. There was obviously a lot of preparation to finding any little extra. Bit of momentum and gain on the lines that they could, whether that be legal, non-legal, or borderline. But so and now is this just a case they haven't had that level of preparation or the same amount of game time as the other guys involved in the competition potentially, but just struggling a bit at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think
they're playing in Australia, aren't they? Which normally they'd be hosting their own home ties, at least in South Africa, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely they would be. But I think there is quite a large sort of contingent of South Africans out in Australia. From just looking at the footage from the game, there seemed quite a few pockets of green in the crowd. So, but I still, I get.
It's never the same, is it?
I get that. I just think it's interesting. I think like I said, was it the first episode or the second episode? Really looking forward to obviously, the first game where South Africa play New Zealand, because I thought that's going to be a excuse me, I thought that was going to be a hell of a game, but now I'm a bit more flat about it, I guess, because I just think New Zealand are probably going to absolutely obliterate them.
Well, I don't know. It depends, doesn't it, mate? I mean, I think personally, I think it's good overall for World Rugby and the game because South Africa haven't sort of performed particularly well in the last two games against Australia and lost them both, and vice versa. Australia have played a lot better rugby than they sort of have been. It's improvement for them, isn't it? So it's good for World Rugby in the game, isn't it? Getting a bit more sort of almost balance with the top Southern Hemisphere sides there back again. But yeah, you say that on form, you're right. It looks like New Zealand will potentially smash South Africa, but I wouldn't put it past South Africa massively upping their game for New Zealand, and they more than anyone know how to find any way they can to sort of strangle a game and squeeze a win out, don't they? So
yeah,
it ain't going to be. I don't think it's going to be a runaway thing. I think it will still be well contested, personally, but you never know.
You never know, mate. You never know. And then just
it'd be nice to see New Zealand run in half a dozen tries or more and 40-50 point them or something, wouldn't it? That'd be lovely.
It would be nice. I ain't gonna lie. Let's just very quickly just wrap up the kind of news section of this episode, and just an interesting one, mate. Last year's women's champions Harlequins were at home to the Exeter Chief women's team, and the Exeter Chiefs women's team, like last, I'm pretty sure they beat them last season as well. Beat them 24-12. So,
yeah, fantastic, mate. Fantastic.
A good result for obviously the Exeter Chiefs women, and obviously we're going to give them a bit of a mention because, like you've said before, Exeter are technically our local team, even though neither of us really support them.
Well, I do.
Well, they're your second favourite team,
Yeah.
But obviously the second season in the league, in the Allianz Premier 15. So great result for them, taking on the defending champions. So well done, Exeter ladies.
Indeed, yeah, a cracking result, like you say.
Anyway, let's get down to business. Friday Night Lights, the start of the Gallagher Premiership. Last week, both you and I were quite excited about this and the start, and we both predicted that Bristol would do a number on Saracens. Standard, we were wrong. Initially, when I was watching this game, I was quite deflated. Would probably be the best word, because I think there was quite a lot of kicking that a lot of it didn't seem necessarily tactical kicking either. It was just aimless kicking. And I'm sure there was a stat that Austin Healey mentioned during the game where within the first 14 minutes, there were 14 kicks in the first 4 minutes. Sorry, 14 kicks in the first 4 minutes of the game. And like I said, I was quite deflated by the game. Although Saracens obviously came out on top and won 26-9, it wasn't till the next morning when I rewatched the game. I know I'm that sad, but it was because the kids were up really early, and I was annoyed, and I didn't want them to give them the TV, and I wanted to watch the TV. So I watched it again, and actually, what I kind of tried to put that kicking out of my head and just watch it for what it was. And what it was Saracens at their fundamental, basic rugby. The kind of they just seemed to beat Bristol in every facet of the game. Bristol obviously had a couple of purple patches. Charles Peartow's breakaway was pretty special, but ultimately Saracens suffocated Bristol. They didn't let them play. It was a little bit like Bristol tried to play Saracens at their own game and kind of came unstuck. But hats off to Saracens. A fantastic result, first game of the season. And let's not forget, half the team aren't there. Do you think they put down a marker?
Yeah, I 100% think they put down a marker. It's a statement to the rest of the league, isn't it? But I think we mentioned last week, although we both did get it wrong and backed Bristol to win it, we both said we wouldn't. I think we did anyway. So we wouldn't be at all surprised with Saracens doing what they did essentially and winning it, did we?
No,
or talk to me on those lines. But
sorry,
sorry,
that sounds like something we would have said.
But I mean, review of the game very, very similar. I thought the same. It was, to be honest, it was pretty dull to watch in a way. But I think the kicking was a bit of just first game of the season rustiness, nerves almost, wasn't it? It was a bit edgy, wasn't it? It was a bit neither team looked very confident at the end of the day. So I think that was probably the reason why there was so much of the kicking and not particularly good kicking, like you say. But certainly first half an hour to first sort of almost nigh on the first half of the game, I thought Bristol looked like, no, probably not the whole first half, but at least the first quarter to first half an hour, they although it looked a bit not the best game of rugby, they were showing signs, particularly through Piatow, of looking like the ones who are likely to be doing something different and scoring some tries and winning the game, didn't they? But the bit that probably surprised me the most was just how it went almost the opposite to what I would have anticipated it would. As being a close game, the more it went on, Sarries just got stronger and took more control rather than the other way round. Because you could easily have argued it would be the other way round, because just for the simple fact that Sarries have been in the Championship for the last, haven't played a Premiership standard game for 18 months or whatever it is, isn't it? So, if anyone's going to sort of struggle with the physicality and run out of steam as the game goes on, you would have put your money on it being Saracens, not Bristol, but it went the other way, didn't it? And
mate,
it was just
ridiculous.
It was almost just like they've picked up exactly as they left the Premiership. They've come back. It's just that is Saracens, isn't it? They just know how to just get, like you say, get the basics absolutely spot on and muscle out and compete is the main thing. It's just that desire, and you can't really train that, can you? It's just that's a mindset and
it's a DNA thing,
club, isn't it? Yeah,
the culture. It's a DNA thing, and that's a lot of what people talk about with Saracens, and the main reason for people wanting to go in there is that kind of culture and that together.
Yeah, and that's the argument against. Obviously, what they did and what they got found out for is no one's going to argue that's totally out of line, and they've had their punishment and paid the price and the penalty for that. But what you can't take away, and why the argument, I think, at the time and before was stripping them of all their titles and everything else. I think it's very hard to justify that, because you can't actually say what element was done illegitimately or impact illegitimately with their success, and just from what we saw at the weekend, isn't it? Which is just hard graft and the culture and just the way they play, isn't it? It's just it's not particularly exciting rugby to watch when it's like that, is it? But it's just fascinating. I think if you're a proper rugby union supporter and maybe a bit more of along the lines of purist, it's just fantastic to see a team do that, isn't it? Especially from the situation they're in, isn't it? That first game with them.
But I mean, let's not forget, Bristol finished top of the league last year, and obviously, we're in the semi-finals. So they're no bad team, and they had players missing as well, and probably were a bit rusty, etc., etc. I don't think Bristol had any warm-up games, if I'm honest. I've got a feeling.
I think I think that's the big difference this season, though, isn't it? There's obviously the season before was worse, all the same, but not a normal pre-season would be for everyone would be a lot more pre-season. I think the most any team's had is two pre-season games, isn't it?
I think top 3, but yeah.
Have they had 3? Did they? I thought it was just Jersey and. Did they play Ulster twice?
No, they played Jersey. They played Cardiff.
Oh yeah, Cardiff.
And then lost to Ulster.
Okay. But normally you'd probably have a longer pre-season and maybe a game or 2 more, wouldn't you, than that? But but anyway, it's I just I think it's concerning for Bristol. I still believe that they're definitely challengers, as predicted, and they'll be in the top 4 and challenging come the end of the season. But I think that's probably the one thing they need to get right. I think they've got all the sort of armoury and everything in their squad and the club, other than just that little bit of extra, almost little bit of extra grit when they come up against someone like Saracens or Sale, and the direction, sort of tactical direction as well, isn't it? Because they tend to lose their way a bit, almost, isn't it? When things aren't going
how they want
to
to go.
Plan. Yeah.
I thought Harry Thacker had a good game. I thought he was kind of Bristol's standout player. Really, I thought he was very good.
Yeah, he's fine. Just lovely to see him. Lovely to see him back, isn't it? Because he's had so long out, hasn't he, with bad injury. But yeah, I thought quite a few of their players. I mean, Piatau was just standout again, wasn't he? But you say, like, the other thing is, it's a bit of shame in a way throughout the league, but that this game highlighted it, I think. But the amount of players missing from Saracens, but there's a hell of a lot missing from Bristol as well, wasn't there? If you're looking at
it's
season, isn't it? Radradra, Tinkler, to name just 2 of the big names, isn't it? But
I think Randra would have been playing, wouldn't he? But there was an issue with him coming back from Fiji in the Olympic Sevens or something. I think he was on holiday in Fiji after the Sevens, and there was issues coming back with COVID regulations or something. I'm not 100% sure, so I could just be making that up. I don't know.
No, it probably is something like that, man. And they've all got to have their mandatory time off as well, isn't it? So, just
interesting.
Yeah, well done, Saracen. I think we both put them in the top 4, and they think many will be betting against them after that first game of the season performance, will they? So
no, it was certainly a good Saracens-esque performance by them.
And
go on.
If the England squad remains like that, they've got the Vunipola brothers and Jamie George, potentially Elliot Daly, available for every game, isn't it? So
yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
Big plus, and no European rugby to worry about.
European rugby to worry about. No, absolutely. Oh god, yeah, that's a fair shout as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so but then Saturday rolls around and we go to I ain't calling it the proper name for it. It's Welford Road. I don't know what Metalia. I can't even say it. It's Welford Road, and my boys Tigers against Chiefs. I obviously called this as a win for the Tigers. You originally said Chiefs, but then were being kind and obviously went for the Tigers. And what a game it was. Tigers came out on top 34-19, got the bonus point try. They actually got 5 tries, to be fair. I think it was 4 years or so since Tigers last beat Chiefs, I think. Now,
have they been rubbish for that long?
They've not been great. We know that. Now you're going to obviously say, Chiefs had quite a few players missing. I'll turn around and say, I don't think that would have made a difference, if I'm honest with you. I think Tigers would have won even if a few more of those boys are there. I just kind of felt everything kind of clicked into place for the Tigers on the weekend. They were running hard. They were dominating the breakdown. They were dominating the the impact zone, should we say? And it was just an all-round perfect performance. And I think, like you alluded to last week, George Ford obviously was fantastic. And if he doesn't go away with England, great. And they just look really good. Thoughts?
Yeah, they look very good, mate. Very good.
Are you eating a sandwich, aren't you?
No, just finishing off a mint while you were chatting. Oh. So no, they to be fair, mate. They look. It was a cracking performance, mate. They looked a really good side. And you say I would say about the names and squad strength that Chiefs didn't have available, and I sort of agree and disagree. I wouldn't say that would guarantee them the win, but it would certainly have made a difference to the game. You can't really argue. Personally, you can't really argue against that.
Oh no,
but I don't. The way Tigers played, I agree, and also at the end of the day, Chiefs, even though they were weakened squad wise, particularly I think in the pack, but that they didn't perform as anywhere near as well as Tigers, and sort of weren't on the same level as form, were they? So I still think, even if they were full strength, I agree. I think they would have very much struggled to have win that game. It just would have probably made it a closer contest for the full 80 sort of thing.
Yeah.
But to me, anyway, I think Tigers sort of sealed it when they had the yellow card in the second half, wasn't it? And,
yeah.
Didn't concede and actually went on and was it a penalty try they got?
No, it wasn't a penalty try.
They got a try, didn't they? Within the
yeah, Dolly, I think the hooker got his second try, didn't he? I think it was that one.
No, I think that was just after, wasn't it? I think it was.
Well,
it may have been his first one, but you should know. Crikey.
It was Wells. 55 minutes was when he was sin binned, and yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, regardless of who got the try, I think that, to me anyway, that was it's just definitely game over then, wasn't it? You have a 10-minute spell with some down to 14 men, and not always happen, but you would expect the team with the 15 players to have a bit more dominance and potentially pick up some points. That would always be a target, wouldn't it? But it was the opposite, and Tigers almost upped their dominance in that period, didn't they, with 14 men and scored a try. So that was it. To me, that was definitely game over then.
That was the scene in North Point, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah, it's good. It's good, mate. I mean, it's they're looking good. They are looking good, and I think if they get if they can get a good run for the whole season, all comes down to availability, doesn't it? Both internationally and injuries and everything like that. But yeah, then they definitely you wouldn't argue against them challenging for top 4, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
Which you predicted anyway.
I did. Okay, let's leave Tigers. Quite happy with that. Let's move on to Saints at Gloucester.
Wasn't I nice then? Wasn't I nice?
You were very nice. It's a little annoying. I wanted you to be a bit of a twat so I could go at you, but you were nice. So fair enough.
No, at the end of the day, what can you say? Like, that was just.
Yeah, you can't, mate. They were just better on the day, weren't they? And it was good. Yeah. But it'll be interesting now, with, like you say, with all those boys off for the internationals.
But what the flip side to it is, I love, you get so many. I don't know how much into rugby or how long people that make these comments have actually followed the game or know about the game. Saying, "Oh, Chiefs just they've lost it. That's it. They're not the team they were, and they're not even going to end up in the top 4 and all that just from the first game of the season." Like,
I know, that's just
really like. And anyone that puts money against Chiefs not being in the top 4 is a brave man, isn't it? But I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen, but just going by the past, however many seasons you want to look back on, it's even when they've had the first few games of the season or whatever, isn't it? It's they're normally there or thereabouts come the end, aren't they? So yeah, some silly comments coming out, but there we go. You get that, don't you?
Well, you don't get. You don't go to 6 Premiership finals and suddenly become shit overnight, do you?
No, just from losing the first game of the season.
No, exactly. So Gloucester at Northampton. This wasn't one of the televised games, but I've seen the highlights. Northampton just looked really good. Furbank was on fire. Really good in terms of their kind of attacking play. I think they're obviously benefiting from the fact that the grounds are still hard and fast, and that kind of suits Northampton's game. Gloucester, like I kind of said in the kind of last week when we were talking about, I think it was last week when we were talking about league positions, and I said they'd end up at the bottom. I don't get why Morgan's playing in the second row. Is Ed Slater injured? Is the Argentine Almiro? He must be off with Argentina, I guess. Thorley looked good, scored a good try. Johnny May scored a nice try, but I don't know. I just didn't see. I just didn't see a great deal from Gloucester, if I'm honest. And I think my thought process of them being at the bottom might be accurate.
Yeah, it's always difficult, isn't it? I think it's a shame, almost a shame. It was nice. Obviously, point to mention as well, I suppose, isn't it? But fantastic to see sort of all the fans back in the stadiums, isn't it? For first time in a very long time. But the sort of downside to that is you don't get every match televised like BT were doing. BT Sports were doing, weren't they? Televising every game until fans could all go back in the stadium. But it's difficult. I always find it's difficult if you only watch, especially if it's just sort of the literally the highlights, not extended highlights of a game. It's quite hard to sort of assess and review the performances of the teams overall. But if you just look at the highlights that were shown, I agree. I mean, Northampton looked far sort of stand out superior to Gloucester, didn't they? And playing some really, really nice rugby, which we know Northampton can. But yeah, I don't know. It's a long old season. It's just going to be tough at both ends of the league. I still think a big difference for Gloucester are when you got Hastings back, and there was obviously a few guys in the backs, Reece Samet and Harris, etc., isn't it? And in the forwards, missing a few as well, isn't it? Like you've named already. So when they've got all those guys back, I think it will make a big difference, especially if Hastings can, which we said last week, if he can sort of settle in and click well, that will be a big plus for them. But I could very much see them. At the end of the day, I think they're going to be doing well to get out of a bottom of the league sort of scrap, aren't they? Bottom few positions. So it's looking like they're going to be down the bottom.
Yeah, but Hastings came on at fullback, didn't he?
Did he? I didn't see that actually, mate. I looked at the squads before. I didn't actually notice he was in the squad at all. But...
Oh, sorry, mate. Well, I just flicked on just looking at obviously the. Yeah, Hastings came on for Moyle in the 61st minute. So,
okay.
I mean, that's not enough to that's not enough to put a mark on the game anyway. So, let's move on. And one that I predicted last week as well. Yay me. London Irish away to Worcester. Worcester got their first win of the season. They've already kind of matched what they got last season. 36-24. Again, highlights. I just thought Worcester looked really good. I think I was kind of justified in sort of saying that they might win. I mean, I do recognise the fact that, they did let in 4 tries. So they might need to work, shore up on their defence a bit. And, we questioned last week whether Willie Hines was actually worth losing. What's he called?
Hugard. Yeah, I think Hines obviously listened to our pod, didn't he? Because that spurred him on. He had a fantastic game, didn't
he? He was intense. He was just electric. So quite clearly he's listened and was absolutely annoyed to fuck by what we said.
There you go, Hines. That was a sly little motivational speech for him, wasn't it? Really.
You're welcome. But yeah, so I mean, I think the forwards looked really good. Kovacic played well. I thought Ted Hill played a lovely game. And I just thought, it's difficult to kind of get a real overview of everything because it's just the highlights, isn't it? Like you say, London Irish might need a bit of, I mean, they've got a quality side, but they did score quite a lot of points. Yeah, I think Irish will be fine. It was a good game from Worcester. From what I saw, I just really enjoyed what they kind of were putting together.
I don't disagree. They looked. they played some really good rugby. They looked to me they looked more better drilled and together than I really kind of expected, just because of the sort of turnover of players they've had there, isn't it? But and also I think the key, obviously, Willie Hines has hit the ground running, hasn't he? And we all know how great a player he is. And we weren't saying he wasn't a good player last week, but the point was, they already had a fantastic 9 who was arguably standout player for them, sort of week in, week out, wasn't he? In a underperforming side for the last couple of years, isn't it, for Hugo? But yeah, Hines, fantastic game, and also Owen Williams at 10, new signing, had a very good game, didn't he? So I think if those two can strike up a good partnership, that'll be a big plus for Worcester. The only thing I don't, even though from the highlights they were playing some great rugby, scored some great tries, and looked. I almost felt, and I know it wasn't for the sort of whole game because Worcester won it, but I think Irish have got a bit more physicality to them than Worcester overall. That's just my personal.
Yeah, no, that's a fair comment.
So I agree. I don't think they've got any major cause for concern for the rest of the season. And also, I think it was the only game they won last year, like you say, first game of the season, but that was against Irish as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
But no, I don't expect that to happen again. I think Worcester are going to pick up a few wins, but and obviously Irish will. But it's just how many, isn't it? Is the is the unknown.
Absolutely. So then, mate, it moves on to Bath. Sale, 5 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. Don't know why it was later than the others.
Yeah.
Again, highlights only. Rafi Quirk was fantastic, I thought, for Sale. And probably helped his England credentials by being called up. Sale obviously went into quite got a commanding lead. And then the old the Bath boys never say kind of die attitude, they came back and had a chance to kind of win it all. Orlando Bailey had a kick to win it at the end. Unfortunately, was quite far out and he missed. Now, the two kind of big things that I was kind of concerned about, how was the fact that, you boys lost Spencer quite early and you lost Sips quite early, both to HIAs, I think it was. I don't know if have you looked into if they're all right or given them a call? Or just see if there's any updates, mate. I was taking the piss then, sorry.
Well, Sips messaged me Sunday, obviously, just to let me know scores as normal. But no, I don't think there's any sort of official. I think Spenny was a HIA. Sips definitely was.
Oh, okay.
HIA, so he'll obviously. I don't think it was actually from like you say, you only got to watch the highlights, but I'm pretty certain it was he brought himself off rather than the adjudicators taking him off. So because it was a few minutes after the collision, wasn't it?
It was a hell of a hit, though, mate.
Yeah, it was. And he had at least one, if not two, before that as well. So he was obviously a targeted man. So Bath need to be a bit sharper on that, I think, just for maybe giving him a bit more protection, isn't it? Because that there's not just Sale that are going to be doing that, I don't think. But yeah, so fingers crossed. You'll have to go through the standard protocol in the HEI, isn't it? Which I think that still potentially can make him available for next weekend's fixture. But until you hear any more, you don't know for definite. And I'm not sure on Spencer. I think I'm pretty sure he was pulled off with a injury concern, wasn't it? So he probably won't be available next week, but hopefully it won't be. It'll only be a short-term spell anyway. But yeah, as far as that game, it had, whichever way you look at it, it did have a big impact, and it would have been a cause of upset to Bath, isn't it? Especially Spencer, because that was literally first quarter of the game, 20 minutes, around about 20-minute mark he went on, wasn't it? So, and young, to be fair, Ollie Fox that came on, did himself proud, didn't he? He had a very good game, very solid game.
This is like you would have been talking about before, isn't it?
I think I might have mentioned before. Yeah, he's a up and coming lad, isn't he? But he just hasn't enough game time. So to come on first game of the season unexpectedly that early on is tough for it. I mean, I think he's 18. I think he is, isn't he? So, but he did well. At the end of the day, he did well. But it's still not the same as going with your original game plan and having the experienced Ben Spencer there, isn't it? So what difference that would have made? Because at the end of the day, it was down to one kick that won the game, wasn't it? In the end. So yeah, overall, I mean, as a Bath fan, you always know it's going to be. I'm always back the boys, but you always know going away to Sale is it's never going to be an easy thing, and probably even more so now and this season, isn't it? With Sanderson building what he's building there, so it's a tough place for anyone to go. And when they went down, like you say, Sale took a fairly considerable lead in the first sort of half an hour of the game. It was all looking a little bit concerning. So the positives for Bath is a the fight back. I think that was just fantastic. That shows some real spirit in the team, which is good.
Yeah.
Because you could argue that's been a miss in previous season.
Yeah, definitely.
But definitely, I think I actually thought from what we could see of the game, there was some definite positive signs. I thought some of the handling was superb, especially in the forwards, the offloads and the tackles, and you can see the sort of game they're attempting to play. And I think when everyone's back and once they've had a few games, because at the end of the day they're one pre-season game and that's it. So this is almost like another pre-season game, isn't it? First game of the season.
Yeah.
Count. But yeah, a few games down the line, if they can keep that game plan and that style, it's going to be dangerous. You're going to get some rewards from it. Do you know what I mean? So.
But also, Sale's a tough place to go opening game of the season, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a tough place to go any game of the season, but yeah, probably more so first game of the season. So overall, although we lost, we got a bonus point, so that's a good. I always say if you're going to lose a game, try and get some points out of it, isn't it? Because it all adds up at the end of the season. But
yeah, no, that's cool.
So yeah, interesting where they go from here. And I don't think Sale will be overly impressed with. I mean, they had some positives obviously to take out of it. I think Rafi Quert was probably the biggest positive, wasn't it? He's as far as an understudy to the main man at 9, he's
very good,
isn't he? Yeah. But I suppose the difference there, Ollie Fox being the youngster for Bath, game plan from the kickoff to have Rafi Quert in there and running the game, isn't it? Which Bath's game plan was probably Ollie Fox only featuring for the last potentially sort of 10-15 minutes or so of the game, isn't it? But yeah, that's can't really say no more on that, mate. It's
no, that's okay. That's okay. So that takes us over to Sunday, and defending champions Harlequins away at Newcastle Falcons. Excuse me. Harlequins coming out on top 26-20. Got their bonus point as well. 4 tries for them. As we've already said, Radwan, he scored a fantastic try. And I don't think he reminds me of Jason Robinson, if I'm honest. His footwork and his speed just remind me of Billy Wiz. I thought he was fantastic. I thought Lewis Liner was very good as well. I think we said it was going to be a tough old day up there for them. And I think that kind of showed in the scoreline that you can never kind of give up. Newcastle kind of never give up. They're quite like Bath. I mean, it was quite close throughout, 14-12 to Quins at half-time. And like I said, it finished 26-20. But I think the most important thing is that the signing of Tommy Allen just kind of showed that, Marcus Smith, who to a degree, he got man of the match performance. He kind of played the kind of style that Quins want to play. I think he only made about 6 kicks in the whole game, which sort of suggests he wants to play that free-flowing game, that attack in the kind of the outside arch, which led to a couple of the tries. Looked at just a very assured performance by him on his kind of debut, I think. Obviously got Kerr inside him and Esterhazy outside of him, so he's got some quality there. I think he's going to be a good replacement for Marcus the Man Smith.
Yeah, I agree. He had a great game, didn't he? Especially, like you say, for debut for the club, isn't it? So, yeah, definitely filling a big hole there, isn't it? When Smith is away, I don't actually know. Is he not playing for Italy anymore? He's not in selection.
I don't think he is. They've got that. After last week's rubbish pronunciation, I'm not even going to try and.
No, don't go there. Don't go there.
What
that could be a bit of a spanner in the works if Italy decide to call him up for Six Nations or whatever, isn't it? But yeah, that aside, it's a very, very good bit of business there by Harlequins, and I think actually with the signings they've made, they've obviously like everyone would have noticed that mainly because of their success last season, there's a lot of guys who are going to be involved internationally that weren't before, isn't it? So they've made signings to fill those gaps, haven't they? So hopefully that'll come off for them. I think it's that's going to be the big test for Quins, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's was it 3 forwards? I think you got Smith, March, and Liners involved, selected as well, isn't it? Which you could argue was a potential surprise. You got Kenningham. Is it Kenningham? He's a cracking player, isn't he? Don Brandt Marley, yeah.
And Riley, the hooker, the substitute hooker.
Yeah. So
7 potentially.
It's a big number, though, isn't it? If they are all involved. So
yeah, that is.
I went for a Newcastle wing, and they could have still done it. Then it was, like you say, it was a close game, wasn't it? But the good thing for Quins is they've managed to get the win at the end of the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's all about backing up, isn't it?
Yeah,
last season.
It's the same, isn't it? If you win any competition, everyone's out to beat you, aren't they? So
yeah, of course, God, absolutely. Shall we park that now and move on to next week's predictions?
Yeah, good idea. The only thing, small little sideline actually from that game, which probably should have brought up in the news thing. Have you heard Joe Marler's little gripe about the 4G pitches? Have you heard?
I saw it, but I didn't read into
shouting for a ban on 4G pitches, I think.
Yeah, did he come out with a bit of a burn, did he?
I think, yeah. In all honesty, I only seen the headline. I didn't know if you would have seen any more of the detail. I haven't had a chance to read the detail on it, but my understanding is, yeah, he's basically sort of shouting out for banning of the 4G pitches. Yeah, I think he's picked up a arguably minor injury, but yes, burn. I think was what was mentioned. But you do hear of.
Oh mate, I've seen some horrific burns off the 4G pitches and stuff.
Yeah, and you do hear of players contractually not playing on the 4G pitches as well, isn't it? Because it can affect or have more of an impact on knees and ankles and the rest, isn't it? So, I mean, I've never played on a 4G pitch myself, but I can appreciate from playing on other sort of surfaces what that means, and I'm not so sure. I never really liked the thought of sort of fully artificial surfaces. I think some of the hybrid ones are a good balance and probably as far as you want to go. But you've got to have an element of nature and the elements having an effect on the game personally, because that is one thing that is a purist point of view is a beauty of our game, isn't it? The Union game.
Oh yeah, you got to love the games where it's been absolutely pissing it down, and it's basically a mud bath, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think they're trying to get away from that, isn't it? I can understand not wanting like pitches just getting completely torn up to the fact that you have the old mud bath situation, but you still need it to have an impact, I think, just so that when you have those sort of elements, that the game turns and you've got to tactically evolve your game and play to the conditions, isn't it? And that's just part of rugby union, isn't it? I'm not a big fan for trying to get away from things like that. Anyway, I'm going off on a bit one here, isn't it? But you got to keep it to rugby. Rugby union is rugby union, isn't it? So we've got to love and appreciate all aspects of the game, isn't it?
No, you do, mate. You really do. Predictions?
Yeah, go.
Gloucester Tigers Friday night at Gloucester. There's only one winner there, mate. Tigers.
Yeah, I'd like to see Gloucester put in a good performance and make a game of it. But yeah, you'd be a bit foolish not to bet against Tigers after last weekend, wouldn't you? So yeah, I agree. Tigers for that one, mate.
Cool. Ooh, Newcastle at Bath.
Only one winner there as well, mate.
Oh, mate, I'm really sorry.
Oh, Petrol, right. Gloucester are winning the first game.
I'm really sorry, mate. I'm going to say Newcastle.
Okay. Well, I'm going Bath, obviously. So.
Okay. You're going to be surprised with the next one as well. Saints at Chiefs.
Saints at Chiefs.
Yep.
Chiefs.
Saints.
Of course. You're always back against Chiefs. I don't know what your issue is.
I have no issue. I just think Saints are going to do them. Sorry. You're going to like this one as well. Worcester Quins. I think Worcester are going to beat Quins at the Stoop.
No, I'm going Quins.
Okay. Well, you did say last week.
Sorry, at the Stoop as well. At the Stoop.
At the Stoop.
Yeah. No, Quins.
Yeah, I'm going to go Worcester.
Okay.
And Wasps start their season at home to Bristol, and I'm going to go Wasps.
Bristol.
Okay. Literally everyone apart from the time. Everyone now, isn't it?
Sorry.
Sale.
All apart from the Tigers game, you say?
Yeah. Well, you changed your mind and then went for Gloucester, didn't you?
I'm only being silly. I'm backing Tigers to win that.
Yeah. Okay. So Sale at London Irish. I'm going to go Irish.
Oh yeah.
I think that's quite a tough one. Irish won quite a few games at home last season, I think. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong.
I'm just trying to think of, obviously, Sale will be probably pretty much the same contingent as last weekend, won't they?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Irish, who have they got? They haven't really got anyone missing, have they?
No.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go Irish as well.
Good decision. Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about fantasy rugby, or would you like to wait until you're, in the lead again?
No, not. Well, I don't want to talk about it too much, mate. I just it's very much like the Chiefs Tigers game, I suppose, isn't it? I'm Chiefs and you're Tigers, and I'll let you have that first game of the season, but that's all you'll be having. I think that'll be come the end of the season is when it counts, Gareth.
Oh, which is what I say to you, fucking year on year, and each week.
Oh, do you ever?
You're like, nah, mate, nah.
Fair play. I think you had 70 points difference, isn't it? So wasn't even close, was it?
No. Oh no, it was close, mate. It was. Radwan did me a favour, obviously.
Wasn't close, mate. I had a shocking week. I was under 400 points, and I think I only did that once or twice last season. So not a good start, but there we go. You had a good start, mate. Yeah, Radwan, like you say, he got some points from him, didn't you?
Yeah, 52. I wish I'd put him at captain, and it would have been 104. Anyway, never mind. We'll see what happens next week and any changes that we need to bring in, because obviously next week Saracens don't have a game, so that then impacts on the fact that I can't have Lewowski. Is it? I can't Yeah, him and the.
I think you've also, obviously they're not playing yet, but I think you've picked a couple of the England boys in your squad who haven't featured yet, but they're not going to be featuring much, are they? So
no. So I have got quite a lot of money to play with, I guess.
And some some changes. It's a weird season, isn't it? I think with these bye weeks, because not being able to select the bye team players, it potentially makes it
interesting.
I can see breaching the is it two sub minimum, isn't it, before you start getting minus points. I can see that being breached quite regularly this season.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, I agree.
Anyway, enough chit chat about that, mate.
Well, this is probably going to be the longest podcast ever. We're currently at 66 minutes, which is ridiculous for us.
Is it? I need to get on, mate. I've got stuff to do.
I know. Let's just leave it there then. Obviously, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, on all the normal kind of podcast stations, Apple Podcast, Anchor, Spotify, YouTube. So go over, give us a follow, give us a like, get the pod going, and we'll catch you again next week for episode 4.
Cool. Thank you very much, mate.
No worries, buddy. Take care. Come on, Tigers.
Speak next week. Cheers.
Fuck off. See you later.
Loser.
Bye.